So
What was the weather like?
the weather was nice.
Yeah.
Good weather, temperate weather.
This was in the summer or the winter?
Well, I was
He
there
was there a year and a half.
there a year and a half, 2 years. I was there
So what was it in the summer? It was.
It was not bad.
all
Not
year
bad.
round.
Summer or winter was not bad. So anyhow, somebody said that they're opening up a new office in Luliang. So I says, where's Luliang? He said, oh, it's one of the out in the sticks someplace. So I thought about it, and I said, you know, in Kunming, I'm seeing a lot of Chinese life. Certainly, even when we were there was a lot of, you could see the peasants in the field and everything. But Luliang, it sounded like you could really see China. That was, I said, okay, I volunteer to go to Luliang. So we went to this Luliang, and we were in a truck. The truck was bouncing up, and no roads. This is all dust, you know, flying through the air. And when we got there, we were all caked with red dust, you know. So we take off our stuff, our duffel bags, and they show us where to put them. And I said, do they have a shower around here? They looked at me like I'm insulting them. Of course we have a shower. So I said, all right, where's the shower? So they show me a building there, a shed. And I go in and I lather myself up, and sure enough, the water is fresh. And I soap myself down, and I wash myself off, and I put on clean underwear. And I feel really clean. This is a way to begin someplace. Well, the next day when I got up, I saw guys carrying, you know, they have this long thing with two pails, one in the front, one in the back, and they're carrying water up a plank to the top of the building so that you can have a shower. They dumped the water over. When you turn on your spigot, there was the water. But then I saw where they took the water. It was from a pond right near there with all green slime on the top of covering the water. You couldn't even see the water. It's all green slime. In fact, we saw such green slime there. So I started to look, and all of a sudden I got itchy. And I'm scratching, and I'm scratching. I felt so clean the night before. Once I saw that slime, oh my God, was I scratching all over the place. So that was my first shower in Luliang.
So how long did you stay in Luliang?
A few months.
Did you know that you were going to be coming back, or you thought you were going to stay there permanently?
Well, the war was over by the time I came back. I got the war was over when after I stayed in Luliang.
I see.
The war weren't over, I'd still be there, I guess. But I got to tell you about when we were in Kelly Field in Texas. We were taught to work from in the field. In the field meaning that you work from field safes. And when we got there, the field safes had to be safeguarded until we built the finance office, the specification, you know, with gates and whatever to put all the money and whatever in. They put the field safes in the middle of this shed, and somebody had to guard them. We took turns. So outside, around the building, there was all Chinese soldiers, sentries on duty. And came my turn to guard this thing, and you stay there one night, and everybody in the finance outfit takes a turn till they get this thing set up. So I get in this place, and I'm sitting there, and there's a light on. They have all noises and people going around. I said, this is foolish. I'm sitting here with a light on. I can't see anybody, but they could see me. So I turned off the light, and I could look out at least, you know. Well, it was still dark. I don't know exactly what time in the morning, but it was still dark. And I hear yelling and screaming and all kinds of things going on out there, fighting and whatnot.
Well, outside the gate, or?
No, outside our building, outside our shed. All kinds of noise going on there.
Oh, you were inside?
I'm inside. I'm with the safe. I'm locked in, so that I'm guarding the safe. Anybody comes, I'm supposed to shoot them. But I didn't shoot him this way. I had a pistol. So anyhow, I wait till the morning. It starts to get light, and I see a guy out there bleeding on the sidewalk. And eventually, a half hour or so after it got light, a truck comes along like a garbage truck, and they take this guy and they throw him into the truck. And so I said, next day I want to know what was going on, you know, what happened. Well, it seems that there are sentries were around our building, and there were sentries around each of the planes out on the field, see, our planes, and they were guarding them. And this guy evaded the sentries around a building, and he evaded the sentries around one of the planes, and he stole a gun and a knife from the plane. And on his way out, they caught him. So, well, anyhow, this fella had evaded the sentries on the outside, and he went out to the plane. He stole a gun and a knife. And Chinese justice, being justice, they stabbed him in his hand with a knife, and they shot him in the arm with the gun, and they left him bleeding outside of the building.
They just did that, like, right?
That's justice right there. They take care of it. They don't need any lawyers. They don't need any judges. They don't need any courtrooms. They don't have to make any laws. They take care of it right away. And they just threw him into the truck, and that was the end of him, like garbage. When you talk about justice, as I just remembered this one, I was walking down this little street in Kunming, and this was like a side street, so it wasn't a main street, but there were all stores and people doing business along there. And apparently there's a big commotion on the other end of the street, so I go running down the street to see what's happened. On each end of the street, they had like a sentry with sitting in a telephone, like a telephone booth, just a little closet type thing. And he's sitting there with a gun. Now this guy, he surely wasn't a judge, he wasn't a lawyer, he didn't know any legal system. He was a farm boy who was drafted someplace. He might not have even known Chinese, the type that was, he couldn't write in Chinese or anything. But apparently, two people got into an argument about something, the storekeeper and a customer. And I forget what they had. They must have had a paddle of some kind, I don't know. So they come up to this sentry, and he's the judge. So he points to the storekeeper, and the storekeeper he tells him all about it. He points to him, and okay, that's enough. He said, then you. Then the customer, he explains his side of the story and explains everything. You see, he's shaking his head. He doesn't know. All right, you. He goes on, and he goes on. He's just as befuddled. He can't figure out who's right or who's wrong. So he says to the storekeeper, put out your hand. He puts out his hand. He bangs it with a paddle. It was big, heavy. Must have broken every bone in his. Then he gets the other guy, put out your hand. He bangs him with the paddle. Case closed. That was the way they solved the case. Two guys probably with broken hands or fingers, and they were happy. They both walked off together back to the store. They're going to continue to sail or something. And he settled the whole thing on the spot.
Well, wouldn't that teach him not to go back to this guy?
Oh, I don't know. There may have been other cases where it was easier to decide. This particular one, he couldn't decide who was right and who was wrong. So.
How about the woman that came to your office?
Oh, yeah, that's another story. I was in charge of paint. In China, it was one theater in the world where United States men were paid in the monetary unit of the country. If they were in France, they were paid in French money. If they're English, they were paid in English money. But in China, they were paid in U.S. money. So that we had 90% of the office working in United States money, and 10% of the office was working in Chinese money, paying local people. And eventually, I was in charge of that section. In fact, they even they flew me up to Chongqing to get the latest stuff, new regulations. Anyhow, one day.
So when you got paid, say, you had to convert your money into...
You didn't convert, you went out with U.S. money, and for a carton of cigarettes, you can get $20, $30, $50 for it in American money, because that's everybody had American money. You didn't have to spend Chinese money. You never had to convert anything at all. That was the currency that people wanted. Well, anyhow, this... and we'd pay claims, like we never hired individual Chinese, but we hire a gang of 50 men to work on the airport or something, and we deal with a contractor. And this contractor would get the money, and whatever he paid them or he didn't pay them, that was their business. Anyhow, when a contractor would come in to get paid, he'd get a bundle of bills this high. We'd pay him, and the bills kept getting bigger. As the inflation went, they'd have a $10,000 bill, a $50,000 bill. It kept getting higher and higher with the inflation. But even with all the inflation, he'd stand there and he'd tie it up in a great big bundle, and then he'd head to town fast.